Welcome you three to your science lesson today. Just check you've got your pencil, your ruler, and whichever book you've been recording your science learning in. Today we're going to be learning a little bit more about the organs of our body. So can you pause the video and write the date and LO please in your book that you're using. Well done. I wonder if you remember what the organs are. I wonder if you can name any of the organs from last lesson. So organs are in our body, aren't they? And they have really special jobs to do. Last lesson we were naming them. Today's lesson will be about learning what they do and how they help our body function. To warm you up, I wonder if you can pause the video and think of 3 things that you remember about the brain. Because last lesson we did actually look at what the brain did. So pause the video, think of 3 things that you remember. Well done. So today I'm going to be reading quite a lot off the screen because today's lesson is really about remembering lots of knowledge about the organs. So I need you to be really sitting up smartly in today's lesson and making sure that you've got your listening ears really switched on because there's going to be lots of learning we need to do today. And if at any point you want to wind the video back and have another look at the information, please do that because that's what it's there for, okay? So let's get going. First, we're going to have a little look at the heart. So the heart is like a pump, but it is a muscle. It is located in the centre of your chest and it is about the size of your fist. So if you scrunch up your fist like this, that's about the same size as your heart, and your heart is right in the centre of your chest there. Now, the heart sends blood around the body. The blood provides the body with the oxygen and nutrients it needs. So the heart pumps, it's a muscle, and with the pumping, the blood is being sent to every part of our body. And the blood is then carrying the oxygen and the nutrients that our body needs, particularly our muscles when they're working. Now, the heart has 2 different sides. The right side of the heart receives the blood from the body and pumps it into the lungs, that's where they get the oxygen. And the left side of the heart does the exact opposite. It receives the blood from the lungs and pumps it out into the body. So that's the job of the heart, very important. We can't live without our heart. Now, let's have a look at the trachea. Can you say that? Trachea. The trachea, also known as the windpipe, is a hollow tube. That means it's like that, it's hollow, that connects the nose and the mouth to the lungs. Can you see in the picture? We've got the nose, which would be here, the mouth, and then this is the trachea moving down, and they would then go into the lungs. It begins at the lower part of the larynx, the voice box, and continues down to the lungs. The trachea allows air to flow into our mouth and nose and down to our lungs. Now, if the trachea becomes blocked, breathing is restricted, which can be very serious. So if you've heard of something called choking before, that would be what's happening. So something is blocking our airways. So we need our trachea to be able to help us to breathe. Okay, now let's have a look at our lungs. Now, we know a bit about our lungs already, don't we? A lot of you know that when we breathe in, our lungs fill. And if you put your hands on your chest like this and do a big breath in, can you feel your chest rising? And then when you let it out, can you feel your chest falling? That's because your lungs are taking in the air. We can feel that, can't we, in our chest? The rib cage, which you can also feel if you feel the sides of your body here, protects your lungs, and we can see that in the picture. So this is the rib cage, the bones, part of our skeleton, and they protect the lungs which are inside. The left lung is smaller than the right lung, so that there is enough space for the heart. The lungs allow you to take in fresh air and get rid of stale air. The body needs oxygen to stay alive. When you breathe in, oxygen enters the lungs, and the oxygen goes into the bloodstream through your lungs and is carried to all parts of the body that need it. Can you see how the organs work together here? So the lungs work with the heart almost, don't they? They're taking in the oxygen, the heart's pumping blood to the lungs, the blood gets the oxygen, and then the heart pumps it to the body, so they're working together. Now let's move on to the liver. The liver is the largest organ inside the body. We talked about last lesson, didn't we, getting a bit muddled up with the liver and the stomach because they're in a very similar sort of place and they look sort of similar shaped, but the liver is bigger. The liver gets rid of toxins and helps the body store energy. When the body is fully grown, the liver will weigh 1.5 kilograms. But by the time it is 60 years old, it will have shrunk. That's almost half the size, isn't it? So toxins are things that our body doesn't want. So the liver helps to get rid of those. Now let's have a think about our stomach. When we eat food, the body sends it to the stomach and it stays there for 2.5 to 3 hours. The stomach muscles squash the food until it is a creamy pulp. The stomach produces juices to break down food and kills germs that you may have swallowed. So the stomach has got a very important job, hasn't it? I'll say all the organs do, really. So I wonder if you know anything else about the stomach, because the stomach's also one we talk a lot about, don't we? Or we've probably heard a lot about. Now, an interesting one, another organ, was the skin. And that was interesting because actually the skin isn't inside the body. The skin is on the outside of our body. The skin is tough and strong, just right for covering your body and protecting it. The skin helps to keep our body at just the right temperature. The skin is the body's largest organ. So because now it's outside the body, it's actually the biggest one. The skin allows us to have the sense of touch. The skin is very important. It covers and protects everything inside the body. We've got another little fact here. Let's read it out. Skin is always renewing itself. Though you can't see it happening, every minute of the day we lose about 30,000 to 40,000 dead skin cells off the surface of our skin. So again, skin has a very important job to do. I don't know if you realise when it says that it helps us get our temperature just right. Have you noticed that when you get a little bit cold, you might get some goosebumps and the hair on your arms might raise up? Well, that's the skin's receptors sort of saying, right, we're a bit cold now. We need to try and keep the heat we've got left close to the skin to help our body warm up. So that's just one way that we can actually see and feel happening, and where our skin is helping our bodies to keep the right sort of temperature. Now let's have a think about the intestines. So the intestines are in two parts, the large intestine and the small intestine. The small intestine is a narrow coiled tube that is about 6 or 7 meters long. That's really long, isn't it? Because it's all tucked away and almost scrunched up, it doesn't seem like it would be that long. When food leaves the stomach, it comes here so that nutrients can be absorbed back into the body. So, in our food, we've got lots of nutrients and vitamins and things, We're learning about that later on in this unit of work, but the stomach doesn't do all of the absorbing of those special things that our body needs. It's actually the small intestine that does that part. So the stomach breaks the food up, and then the small intestine absorbs all those lovely nutrients and things that our body needs, and then it gets carried off to the right places in our body. Now, water and food that cannot be digested here pass into the large intestine and come out of your body as waste. That's what happens when we go to the toilet. So there's some of the food we eat our body doesn't need, and so we pass it out, don't we? Now let's have a look at those kidneys. We had an interesting conversation, didn't we, in class about how a way to remember the kidneys was that they look like kidney beans. So if you've had kidney beans as a stew or in a soup or something, or in a chilli, like maybe some chilli that you've had, they look like them, don't they? So it's a really good way of remembering them. Kidney beans are probably a bit smaller though, really, than our kidneys. So one of the main jobs of the kidneys is to filter out the waste into the blood. So most of the waste is just stuff your bodies don't need because it already has enough. So the waste is combined with water, and that makes urine, and that travels to our bladder. And again, that's when we go to the toilet, when we go for a wee. The kidney is just as important as the heart. The body needs at least one kidney to survive. Oh, here we go, look. If you have ever had a kidney bean, then you have a pretty good idea of what a kidney looks like. And kidneys come in pairs. Each kidney is 13 centimetres long and about 3 centimetres wide, about the size of a computer mouse. About the size of that. Much bigger than a kidney bean, isn't it? And the last one we're going to have a look at today. I know I've given you lots of information, but remember you can go back to any of these slides at any point, okay, to remind yourself of what they do. So the bladder, this is the last one. The bladder is a bag that collects the urine that leaves the kidneys. And when the bladder is full, it sends a message to the brain. And that's when you think, oh, I need to go to the toilet. That's that message being sent. Drinking plenty of water and avoiding rich foods will help keep the bladder and the kidneys in good condition. So it helps them to work. Okay, I hope you've done some great listening today. There was a little bit of listening today, wasn't there? Your task then. I'd like you, looking back at your diagram from last lesson, which should look a bit like this, to choose 3 different organs and explain what their function is. Okay, so it's your choice which ones you'd like to talk about. And I'd like you to use these sentence stems to help you explain. So you're going to use these sentence stems 3 times to write about 3 different organs. Okay, so you're going to say that is an organ that it helps the body to It is important because Okay, and if you need to change some of those sentences slightly to write what you want to write, then of course you can do that. They're just there as a guide. Yep. So make sure you flick back if you can't remember some of that information. You're more than welcome to do that. Okay. Post your work on Dojo. I wonder which organs you're going to choose to write about. Bye bye for now.